Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the New Balance Hesi Low V2, right? So this is New Balance's cheapest basketball shoe and it retails for $110. The Hesi Low, like the original one or the first one, it was alright, you know what I mean? It was kind of solid, but definitely not my favorite. So how is this shoe compared to that one? And also, is it going to be a great performer for a great price? Is it going to be on like the top budget list? We'll have to see in this video. If you guys do want to cop the Hesi Low V2, I'll try to leave an affiliate link in the description box. If you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the affiliate link in the description box or the product picture underneath this video, or try to leave a link right over here. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But yeah, New Balance has been killing it. They've been making some amazing models, like the two-way V4s, really nice, a very solid shoe. I feel like New Balance's strong point in like all their basketball shoes is cushion. They make really nice soft cushions. Some may say it's not super responsive, but I wouldn't say it's like mushy or soft, right? And that's really great, especially since they actually give us really good prices for most of their shoes. Like the two-way V4 is like 120 bucks, you know what I mean? And the Fresh Foam BB, I believe, was like 130 or 120 bucks. Kawhi 4 is expensive though, 160, but it is on sale, right? But anyways, $110. But let's get it started off with the Tracciones, and in this colorway we have a solid black rubber outsole with a wavy herringbone traction pattern here in the forefoot, and also it does get a little bit kind of longer for the wave here in the heel. We also have a pivot point where the ball of your foot is with the Roman numeral 2 for version 2, of course. And how's the traction? The traction is freaking phenomenal on a clean court. You're gonna have amazing stops, right? Literally top tier traction. I was very surprised, especially since it's a very cheap shoe. Whatever rubber compound they're using in the shoe, it works, you know, and it's very sticky, and you're gonna be stopping pretty much on a dime, right? Lateral movements, you're gonna be good to go. Going forward, you're gonna be good to go. And also on very hard stops, you're gonna be good to go. I don't really have any inconsistencies with any stops on a clean court, right? However, it does pick up a little bit of dust, and I would say it's not great, but it's also not terrible. I would say like 1 through 10, maybe like a 7, you know what I mean? So it does pick up dust, right? It does pick up dust. It doesn't pick it up super fast, but it does pick it up relatively fast. You're gonna need to wipe kind of frequently, right? But when it does pick up dust, right, it's not a terrible slip out or anything. It slides out just a tiny bit. And then once you do wipe, which is a very easy wipe, you have really good stops again, so it's not even that bad on dust. You're just gonna need to wipe a little bit, right? Also, another thing that I really liked about this shoe, which has nothing to do with performance, of course, is that this shoe is very squeaky and very loud. So yeah, I feel like a lot of hoopers like to know if it's squeaky or not, so yeah, and if you don't care, that's fine too. But yeah, this shoe is very loud. And also, if you're playing on an outdoor court, I feel like you should be okay. The rubber it's not super hard for the rubber, but the grooves are very deep, and there's a lot of grooves as well. And also, this shoe is pretty cheap, so I feel like if you're playing on an outdoor court, you should be fine. So yeah, the traction, I had a really good time in this shoe because of the really solid traction. Now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it's extremely smooth and super freaking flexible, which is great, right? So here in the heel, we have a little bit of a curved shape, but also the foam is extremely soft, so we have a lot of compression here in the heel. And then coming here into the forefoot, we have a nice rocker shape, right? So just from the shape, it's very smooth, but also it's not that it's bad, it's based on preference, right? So for example, right, like a full-length carbon fiber unit like the WOW 11 or something like that, or the Jalen 5, the JB2 or something, it's a little bit stiffer and it's a little bit springier. But here in the Hesi Low V2, look at this. I can literally flex it with one finger. So it's a really flexible, extremely soft forefoot, right? Here in the midfoot though, there is a midfoot shank plate, I believe. So torsional support is good, but here in the forefoot, it's extremely soft, so you don't really have a springiness, right? It doesn't propel you forward because of that. It's just a really soft feeling shoe, right? And if you guys didn't know, like Kobe's feel like that, like the Kobe 9, Kobe 8 is extremely flexible here in the forefoot, so it's just based on preference and what you like. And honestly, I like that, but I prefer like a full-length carbon fiber plate. I feel like I've been spoiled by the full-length carbon fiber plates like the WOW 11 and stuff like that, but it's just a really smooth feel here in the forefoot. So yeah, there is a heel to toe transition. Now moving on to the cushioning setup, they're giving us full length fuel cell, and fuel cell is actually pretty dang nice, and they didn't really make it super stiff, and it doesn't feel like they added a stiff carrier or anything. It just feels like super soft, unadulterated fuel cell, right? And fuel cell is extremely soft. There's a little subtle bounce to it. It's not super bouncy, but yeah, overall core feel is really good here in the forefoot, right? In the forefoot, you're pretty dang low to the ground, but here in the heel, it does get pretty thick, right? So there is a pretty high offset. And also here in the heel, there's a good amount of compression. It's extremely soft, especially once you get it at first, right? But fuel cell, it does bottom out a little bit. So it did get a little bit more dead, which is fine because when I got it at first, it felt a little too soft, right? But now it's almost like perfect for me right now. It's still soft. There's a little tiny subtle bounce from the actual heel, right? So when you're doing heel dominant strides, it kind of propels you forward just a tiny bit. And also heel strikes, you should be fine on impact, like hard impacts as well. The overall insole is not that nice though. It's just a regular kind of like foam. It's actually a little bit stiffer than Ortholite, I would say. And then the stroke board actually kind of breaks in a little bit, right? If you feel it with your finger, actually it's like a normal traditional stroke board, but for some reason, once I broke it in, the fuel cell is actually quite nice. And since it is full length fuel cell, you feel a nice little subtle compression in the heel, midfoot, and forefoot. Obviously, it's not as soft as like a soft mesh strobe board or like a Zoom Strobel unit or anything like that, but it actually does get pretty soft, which I do like. So overall, for $110, you're getting really nice cushion, and I feel like Nike needs to step up their game a little bit, you know? For the forefoot, however, it does get a little bit stiffer because you are low to the ground. It thins out here in the forefoot just a tiny bit, but you still have good responsiveness and a little bit of something, you know, here in the forefoot, four-step and comfort. So overall, I really do like it. I feel like it blends like comfort, compression, impact protection, responsiveness pretty dang well together, especially for only $110, which is great. Like 5 to 8 years ago, if you're spending $110, you're getting really crappy cushion, but we've come a long way, and I feel like companies have improved their cushioning setup with R&D, with like foams and stuff like that, which is really nice to see. So there's the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So the upper also is actually really nice and very comfortable for the $100 or $110 price tag, right? So they're using an engineered knit upper, and it's really soft. Right? It feels broken in literally right when you first get it. You don't need to break it in. It's really soft. And I would honestly say it's a little too soft for support, which we'll get into. But here in the forefoot, it's extremely comfortable, right? It's extremely thin too, conforms to your foot really well. Like it's supportive in the way of like, it doesn't stretch at all, right? You don't have a stretchy material. However, because it's so soft, it does move around with your foot, which is good, which means it conforms your foot very well. But it like when you're doing lateral movements, like look at this. It just like moves sideways a little bit, you know what I mean? So it's not the most supportive material. Also here at the tip of the toe, we have a very thin fuse for extra durability and support, like especially if you do toe drags. But also look at the midfoot. It's literally extremely thin, but not super supportive, right? I wish they would have added like glued it down there a little bit or something, you know what I mean? Which we'll get into for support, but it feels nice on foot, right? And then like here for the tongue, we have like an average amount of padding. Actually, I would say like less than average. It's not super well padded. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And also for this colorway, they give you an extra set of laces, right? So I kind of switched it up so I can show you guys that 2 extra sets of laces do come with this shoe, I guess. And then here in the ankle area, we have very minimal padding too, like on the sides, not very well padded, and then in the back of the heel, also not very well padded, just very minimal padding. So yeah, it's a very minimal, very comfortable, very soft feeling material. Of course, the overlays for like the eyelets and stuff like that, also here in the ankle area. This is a really cheap like synthetic material, but with this engineered knit material, it's actually very, very nice. So there's a material there. Moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size, and in my first impressions, I said it fit me very well, right? But it's kind of weird because like when I'm sitting down, right, and I kind of like kick the shoe down here in the heel a little bit, and my foot goes all the way to the back, it runs a little bit long, you know what I mean? But when I'm standing up and also playing in it, I feel like because of the higher heel, right, and there is a nice little offset, because of this kind of like ramp kind of shape, it kind of pushes my foot forward a little bit, where it made my foot feel like kind of snug here in the toe box, right? So yeah, if you want a really snug fit, then you should be fine going true to size, but be careful with that. But also with this knit material, it does stretch out a good amount, right? It's a really soft material. Like I said, it's not glued down really at all, so it does get a little bit roomier. So if you want a snug fit at first, and also after you break it in, go true to size, right? But honestly, I was fine going up half a size. It wasn't that big of a deal. And also width-wise, I would say it's around normal width, right? Maybe slightly narrow, but overall, it's not squeezing the size of my foot or anything like that. So yeah, going up half a size was good for me. If you want to be a little bit on the safer side of things, you should do what I did and go up half a size. But again, if you do want a really snug fit, then go true to size. So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, right? So there is a little bit of an issue, right? For support and lockdown, especially for lateral containment. So like I said, this material is extremely soft, right? So here in the forefoot, as you guys can see, it's really, really soft, even on lateral movements, right? Also here in the midfoot, it's extremely soft, right? And I wish they would have added something. You know, for example, like in Dawn issue 6, they had that really thick kind of plastic going around like the eyelets and also in the heel. That really stiffens up the upper, and like here in the midfoot, it really adds a good amount of support to the overall shoe, right? So as far as lateral counters go, like you guys can see, like we have the foam coming up acting as a sidewall, and then of course we have an external TPU heel counter, right? And also it seems like there's an internal one as well, right? It's pretty stiff here. So you should be covered, like your foot's not coming out of the footbed per se, but like it just moves around. Like my foot kind of moves around a little bit. You know, it definitely wasn't to the point where it was like terrible and I couldn't play in it. It was an unplayable feature about this shoe, right? It kind of reminded me of like the PG6, but a little bit worse than the PG6. You know what I mean? Where like the PG6 wasn't like the best for support, but it was like pretty adequate. You know, for most people, it should be okay. But if you're like, I was switching between shoes. You know what I mean? For example, like the 808 4 Ultra, which has really good support. The All City 12 Encore. Also like the AE1. Those are like really sturdy. You know what I mean? But with this shoe, and also this shoe having a really flexible forefoot, all that combined together, it just made this shoe feel very smooth and just not as supportive. You know what I mean? So again, I feel like most people, you should be fine. It's just the support, especially for lateral containment, is not a strong suit in this shoe. And also if you're like a really heavy dude, probably not, definitely probably stay away from the shoe, right? Lateral stability, I was good to go, right? I didn't really have any issues. We do have a nice outrigger, right? And you have a very wide base. You're low to the ground, so lateral stability was good for me. And I didn't really have any issues with lockdown, like my heel felt locked down and stuff. It's just like the overall upper just was really soft, right? Look at this. So there is the support and lockdown there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe, if I remember correctly, it was like a little bit lighter than average, right? Like 11? Oh no, it's 12.6 ounces. It's literally average weight. 12.55 ounces. So yeah, the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So literally average weight, but it doesn't feel average weight. It feels really lightweight because the material is just so thin and minimal, right? And because it's not super like sturdy for the upper, I feel like that's what makes it feel very lightweight. And also you feel very quick when you're playing in the shoe on a clean court because the traction is just so good. But it's not the most responsive shoe. You know what I mean? It's a responsive shoe. Like you feel quick in it, but it's not the most responsive shoe because the cushion is on the softer side of things and the overall material isn't super supportive. You know what I mean? So again, not a terrible thing, but like comparing it to, I don't know, the All City 12, like the Big 3 5.0 quick, you know, like the Jaw 1, you don't feel as quick because those are a little bit more responsive feeling, right? So there's that. Moving on to the ventilation, there's a little bit of airflow through this knit material, but not a lot. But it is thin, so it doesn't stay super warm in the shoe. So overall, ventilation is okay, right? And now moving on to the aesthetics, I like it. It looks very nice, it looks very clean. I definitely feel like it looks better than the first or the original. And this colorway looks great, and also the Volt colorway that came out looks great as well. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this shoe is very impressive, right? For 110 bucks, you're getting really good cushion. The traction is phenomenal as well. But there were a couple of things, right? Again, it's not the most responsive shoe, but I feel like most people, you should be fine. And also, just like the support isn't the best. You know what I mean? Also combining that with a really soft, flexible forefoot, it's not again, it's not the most responsive shoe. So if you're a guard and you're looking for a really sturdy and responsive shoe, kind of like the Big 3 5.0 Quick Pro, the Hardens, the AE ones, you know, it's not the best. You know what I mean? But if you're looking for a really minimal upper, where it's just a really soft, comfortable upper with really soft and comfortable cushion, to the point where it's not like super mushy, and again, it's not like the lateral containment was terrible, it's just not the most supportive. If you want like a softer feeling shoe, then this is a great option, especially if you're trying to save money. And I did enjoy playing the shoe, right? It did remind me a little bit of the PG6, although the PG6 was a little bit sturdier and had a little bit better support. It just reminded me of the PG6 a little bit, you know? So yeah, it's a really solid performer, just lacking in like the support area. So anyways, I would say this is a great shoe for guards. If you're a bigger guy, obviously not the best option. This shoe was made for guards, right? For quick players. So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Hesi Low V2. Again, if you guys do want to call, I'll try to leave in the link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.